So good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Jenks Center. We are located in Winchester, Massachusetts. And I'd like to thank the Cummings Foundation, which is located in Woburn, for their generous grant that makes this evening possible. So that brings us to this evening, Composer's Corner with pianist Ben Schwendener. And I'm going to hand this over to my husband, Andrew Celentano.
Thank you, Hillary. I'm very excited about tonight. I actually ran into Ben years ago. In fact, we were just kind of thinking about when that was. It was I actually hired him to help me orchestrate a piece I had an idea for The Tonight Show when Jay Leno was about to take over, just to tell you how long ago that was. And sad to say, we haven't kept in touch as much as we'd like to, but we've run into each other on occasion, and I'm very happy that he's giving us his time tonight. Basically, he's a leading authority of the Lydian chromatic concept of tonal organization. He's got a book out called Organic Music Theory. He's given lectures and workshops and seminars on it all around the world. He's been on the faculty of the New England Conservatory and Longy School of Music of Bard College for 30 plus years. Recently began teaching a new course he designed in modal analysis. The title of his forthcoming book. I don't know why I have an echo, but please, whoever that is, please mute yourself. He's also designed classes for non-musicians based on the interdisciplinary correspondence of organic music theory for the Creative and Critical Thinking Department in the Graduate College of Education at UMass Boston. Say that without taking a breath. As a tourist artist, his groups include the Bach Trio with Domenico Botello and Henry Godfrey, Mobile Trio with drummer Kenwood Denard and bassist Mark Friedman, Lyric with singer Carly DeFranco, and collaborations with Angela Dello Iacano and the Swiss dance company ADN Dialect, which, by the way, we'll show you some of those things later. Really beautiful. He lives in Boston with his wife Sherry, and often their three children Elodie, Uli, and Blue when they visit. So welcome, Ben. It's good to see you.
Wow, it's great to be here. Hey,
yeah.
Good to
So,
see you.
I have to admit, what I love about these things is I find out a lot more about people in this 1 hour than I probably find from all the time I've known them. And, I'd love to ask you, just as a starter, how did you even get introduced to music at all? Was there a seminal moment in your young life where suddenly something happened to you where you said, I am going to be a musician? I'd just love to hear about how music entered your life and how you embraced it.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me to be with you all. And I really appreciate the opportunity, So, how did I begin in music? Well, I have two older brothers, my brother Paul and Peter, who may be on this call, I'm not sure.
Peter's here.
And we were told by our father and mother that we were taking piano lessons when we turned 5. When each of us turned 5. So it was kind of non-negotiable, and it wasn't a big problem. There was a beautiful piano in the, in the study, and we got a teacher, and we continued, and we were told that we need to continue piano up until high school, and then we can decide whether we want to quit. My dad played a lot of classical music. Growing up, I remember going to sleep listening to him play Chopin and Brahms and Beethoven and whatnot, and swearing when he'd make mistakes and all kinds of things. And it's kind of music was a little more the center of the family than TV was. The TV was relegated to the back of the house. So be that as it may, I did go into music. I went into foreign languages and business, and I went to Michigan State out of college. Mind you, I kept on playing piano when I went into high school, and I was in the jazz band, and I was played in the MSU jazz band as well. But I was studying foreign languages and some getting ready to study business. But I found myself after a year and a half spending more time with music, actually composing with a good friend of mine, Greg Ramsey, who I spent a lot of time with, listening and exploring the far out realms of the musical language from all around the world, but especially jazz and rock. And long story short, I decided that I would keep all my academic credits and go to the New England Conservatory exclusively to study with a fellow named George Russell. George Russell was somebody who I had heard a lot of his music, and I had read on the back of an album that he released in the early 60s called Aesthetic, that he had a book called The Lydian Chromatic Concept of Tonal Organization. I found a copy. My friend Greg and I, we pored over it, and there's a lot of great stuff in there, but more importantly, George's music showed that he had a kind of a different perspective on how sound is organized. It was very space age, but controlled, and very soulful, very bluesy. George was a African American, and came from that whole tradition. And so, long story short, I went to New England Conservatory. I remember calling the conservatory when I decided to do that, and I got the secretary. Her name was Martha, and I said I would love to get in touch with George Russell. I'm 21, and she goes, "Well, he's just standing right here." And which is just total coincidence. She handed the phone. He goes, "Hello," And I don't know what I said, but the next thing I know, I was coming out to Boston to meet him. And I had him sign my book, and he wrote, "To my newfound friend Ben, much evolving to higher levels," blah, blah, blah. Roll round the years. I studied with him 4 years. I played with a lot of great musicians. I met a lot of wonderful people, including Joe Mulholland in Boston. And
he's here tonight, by the way.
So many here. Hey, Joe.
Yeah.
And because of my language background, George, in this theory, George was a total genius, but he had a way of putting so much information into like one paragraph or whatever, for example.
Yeah.
So I kind of helped as an editorial assistant and helped to be somebody he could sort of work with to put it into a kind of a more coherent language.
Yeah.
And he asked me to assist his classes, so I was the in-house pianist, and eventually became. It was kind of like Carson a little bit. I would be like Jay Leno. I would warm up the class, and then George would come in, maybe wearing a leather jumpsuit and Porsche sunglasses, or whatever. This is.
By the way, I think I heard that he came up with this Lydian concept when he was recuperating from tuberculosis. Is that?
Well, he did. He got the genesis of the idea came from in the late 1940s. He was hanging out with Miles Davis, and it was late one night, and he was playing the piano. Miles was blowing his horn and playing the piano, and George, according to George, he asked Miles what his musical aim was, and Miles said, "I want to learn all the changes." Changes is a jazz term for chords. So at that time, jazz musicians had pioneered a way, African-American jazz musicians had pioneered a way to improvise over, Tin Alley tunes, show tunes, and these have a lot of chords in it. George was struck by that thought, and it wasn't until he was diagnosed with tuberculosis, you're correct about that, he was 18 months in a Bronx hospital.
Yeah.
He said he had lots of time to think about that, and it seemed like Miles was looking at a new way to relate to harmony. And so George, who never finished any formal education, he knew something about music. He had the good fortune to be next to a bass player named Harold Gaskin, who was in the bed right next to him, and Harold taught him all about chords and intervals and how to write and all that other good stuff that musicians, composers do. Yeah. And George ended up at a piano and found that this Lydian mode actually is more, and now here we get technical and I don't want to lose your audience, but it's more in unity with the tonic. And I can play you a little example if you want.
And actually, if you could explain to some people that don't know what a Lydian scale or mode is.
Well, I will. When you think about a scale, you think about the major scale, right? Can you hear that?
So is that the C? Is that the
That's
scale?
the C. That's the C major scale.
All white keys. Yep.
Yeah, and so the C major scale is based around the C major chord. It's based around a relationship to that C major chord and A minor, but let's just stick with C major.
Yeah.
Well, George, thinking the C major scale is going to sound in unity, and harmony he defined as unity, like there's got to be a group of notes that sound most consonant. He found that the fourth note, you hear there's a kind of a dissonant, there's a sustainedness, there's a clash a little bit.
Yeah.
So he went to the next four notes. There's no problem there. Well, that happens to be the G major scale. And that works really well.
Yeah.
None of those notes seem to clash.
Yeah.
So I'm making this really short, and we can get to the music soon. But in Western music, there are 7 different modes. You have the Ionian mode, and Mixolydian.
So basically, as you
then the fourth mode on the fourth degree is called the Lydian mode, and that's where it comes from.
Yeah.
The name of that mode.
So for people who don't know, that's like starting. Forgive me for interrupting. That's like playing the white keys, but starting on F.
Yeah. So what he realized the Lydian mode is it comes from nature. Actually, it comes from a ladder of fifths. And in the overtone series, which is something everyone experiences, even if they don't realize it, it creates the richness of sound, of timbre, of every instrument, our voices, our sound, the sounds around us. Everything is in vibration, right? But there's a harmonic series which is behind it. If you strip the harmonic series away, you just get a sine wave, like the test of the emergency broadcast system.
Right,
so
right.
The richness, what you hear in Symphony Hall or in a jazz club or wherever, that's all due to all of the overtones. And then at the cornerstone of the overtone, when you hit a fundamental, the first note that you're actually hearing is an octave. And then right after that, you're hearing a fifth. And Pythagoras knew this way back when. And if you build a ladder of fifths, all of those fifths have one center of what George termed tonal gravity. Tonal gravity, think about it like the sun, and the Earth and the planets revolve around the sun. So he organized a theory of music. It also gives you a completely extended major 13 sharp 11 chord, but whatever the case is, every mode of the Lydian scale is in unity with its Lydian tonic, or it's that single note. It actually simplifies things a lot in a certain way from this perspective.
So forgive me if I'm ignorant on this. Does that mean that everything you write is in the Lydian mode, or?
No, it means that I look at things from actually both perspectives. I look at it from traditionally the recipes that they come from as much as I can and study about it, which tells you how to do things, right? Just like the major scale tells you to go. Tells you how to get to one by using subdominant, dominant, and tonic and whatnot, functional harmony. But if you break all those down, you see that they're elements with relationships. And then when you consider that there are 12 keys, and this we'll hopefully get into this because I like having free range of all 12 keys.
I love it.
Music.
That's great.
You see that really. The perspective Lydian is just a source of origin. I don't play the sharp 4, that Lydian sound over all my chords. It's not a sound. It's a perspective of organization.
I love it. This is making me want to read your book. Why don't we start with that piece that we mentioned earlier that you play, that solo piece? Do you want to talk a little?
You got right into it. Okay.
Unless you want to talk about something else first. This is your meeting.
No. This is fine. So this right here is a modal. Do you have a Fugue 12? Do you have the PDF?
Yeah, oh, sure.
Okay. So fast forward. Was Bach thinking Lydian chromatic concept? Heck no, I'm sure. He was thinking a lot of things, most importantly, architecture and emotional content and whatever else Bach was doing. I'm not going to even attempt to address that. But if you look up there, you see notes in circles, and then you see Roman numerals. Those are modes, and that's organizations. Mm-hmm. And this is my applied modal analysis of Bach's Fugue 12 from Well-Tempered Clavier. So this is, and I had just done this analysis, at least the first couple pages, and my friend Tarek Cormorant's, my daughter's boyfriend, who's from Lebanon, filmmaker, he captured a few minutes of it on film, and this is from my studio, and this was recorded just a couple weeks ago, a few weeks ago, maybe three or four.
Excellent. We're going to play some of this, or maybe all of it. Let's play all of it.
Play all of it.
Oh, hang on a second. I want to make sure I share screen and share sound. Okay, here we go. I love this. So you got this from that fugue. And would it be correct to say that every time you played, it would be different, I assume?
Yeah,
Yeah,
pretty much.
that's
Pretty
wonderful.
much. Yeah.
So
Just
that's what I
work.
love about this, is infinite possibility in every piece. It's just incredible.
Yeah.
What would you like to play next? You've got such a collection here.
Well, let's see.
Actually, if you don't mind, I'd like to at some point show the No Plan B. I just love the integration of dance. And by the way, I should say that your wife and your daughter are both dancers. So,
Sure. Yeah. If you want to spin that, that's totally fine. Then maybe I could play the thing I do with Carly. I play that Ferlinghetti 32. I got a scan, and then this living geometry piece.
sure. Okay.
But we'll see what
Let's do this No Plan B. Do you want to tell us why it's called No Plan B?
Well, let me just back up a little bit, just compositionally.
Sure.
So what you just heard with the Bach is the latest stuff that I've been working on, mostly during this whole pandemic. I think maybe Bach is very comforting and sort of expansive. But I moved from a very my earlier composing years. I was writing pretty complicated stuff with lots of notes and lots of complicated scores and stuff like that, which, although I really like, I was kind of craving simplicity, and I have gone more and more towards development of simple themes in my composition, and I've leaned much more towards improvisation and improvisation with other musicians. And in this case of what we're going to watch, improvisation with dancers as well. The dancers are musicians as well. And this is actually the mobile trio. Oh, this is cool. You got the mobile trio right on stage here. And this is a trailer, so you're going to see a bunch of different clips, but you'll get the vibe. This is a show that I did with a choreographer, a fellow I met on a train in Switzerland like 10 years ago, named Angelo Del Iacono. He's was in the Béjar Ballet for 19 years, and then ended his career as a ballet dancer because he just couldn't stand the lifestyle, and opened his own dance company and really works with cultures around the world and bringing all these different elements, and also a lot of kind of industrial. He called it scénoplastique. So in this particular show, No Plan B, it revolves around eventually a spinning tetrahedron. So and these dancers are improvising their movement based on themes, but the themes are not just arbitrary, and the same way they correspond to us as musicians. Hopefully, I wrote the music, or the thematic designs for all of the musical scores. A lot of it is improvised, but we're working together. So, compositionally, this is something I've done for a long time, and this is we tour around the world. We were in Latin America and Europe and so forth with different dancers and different musicians too. But I think this was the first show in Boston at Green Street Studio. So go ahead and play it.
Excellent. Yeah. have to tell you, I watched this multiple times, and sometimes with the sound off. And what's fascinating to me is that as incredible as this avant-garde is in general and just fun to watch, the music takes it to a whole nother dimension. I mean, just the way it all comes together is quite wonderful to watch. So I know you have another plan B that we could show, but there's so much to show tonight. What would you like to do next?
Well, I mean, you're the interviewer. What? How would? I mean, I could share my music, and that would. Should we go? I guess maybe that's good. I explained about that. Let's go to let's go to Carly and Carly DeFranco, who's a wonderful opera singer, very in high demand in the Boston area and around, and somebody I met at Launchie School of Music.
This is the Ferlinghetti number?
This is the Ferlinghetti number. And I met Carly through a student of mine at Launchie, Billy Jewell, who she's now married to. And Carly came in, and I heard her sing, and I was just enamored. And I asked her just off that, do you happen to improvise? And she said, I love to improvise. Now, it's kind of rare to find a classical musician who loves to improvise. They definitely do exist. More and more of them exist nowadays, you know. Mm-hmm. And she was kind of fearless. And so I had this idea that we could perform together, and she could read mostly, kind of beat poetry, a lot of female beat poetry. And I would work off of geometric shapes within the circle of keys. So if you got the number 2 Ferlinghetti circle of keys shape, you could put that up, and then you could play this. And Carly is improvising, and she's improvising off of what are called tonic stations or key centers, much like major and minor are in a piece of music. You have a piece in the key of, say, E flat major. And so that's kind of where all roads lead to E flat or have a relationship with that. But my harmonic choices, because I like to create with a kind of a set menu of choices, are covered with the design in that diagram. So she's pretty much in E flat, and I am traveling through these. And this is a lovely poem by Ferlinghetti, who passed away last year at age 100. And yeah, go ahead and play it.
Oh wow! Now, I'm not sure I can play that and also continue to let people watch this. Let me see.
I think you gotta see if you can. If you can't, you can just play the music. That's fine.
Yeah, let's see what happens here. I'm going to play the music. Tell me if you can listen, if you can hear this music, and if not, I will have to just redo it. Here we go.
Yeah.
Excellent. If you want, Ben, you can use the annotate and point to stuff as it's going, if you wanted to.
Think back through the long years, laughter in the eucalyptus forest, and the sighs no one hears, the green lush trees still there.
I love the way you leave us hanging there. That's great.
Well, that was the Lydian tonic. So
Oh my God.
The thing about Lydian is it doesn't resolve; it just is. Yeah, isn't she amazing? Wow,
It's just incredible. Yeah.
yeah, she's just, and that's all just, next time we play it, it's going to sound totally different. But I like that performance a lot. You can see the curved lines on the left, the A flat, D flat, G flat, B. They're very flat lying, and they have a certain sound. The ones on the other side are very bright. Sound more like sparkly galactic type of upper structure things, and that comes again from that ladder of Fis. It just ascends and gives you all of the notes in an organization that go from ingoing to outgoing, close to distant.
That's great. That's a whole new way to look at this. I love it. Just loving it.
Yeah.
Now, you also sent me this living geometry PDF that's got a similar circle.
Ah, that's good. This kind of started it up, and boy, this was a long time ago, and this was with a dear friend of mine who's kind of got some health issues now, but hopefully you'll hear a lot more from him, Mark Rossi. This was recorded in 2001 at Longy, and this was the idea that this was the first time when geometric designs could be used improvisationally to improvise compositions with themes. Obviously the Ferlinghetti was based on, we were working from the theme of that actual poem. So here, living geometry is a sort of a commentary of nature and earth, coexisting, and just all the possibilities. And so you can see there's a black thing in the middle there. Do you get that? There you go. Okay, good. So
Yeah.
you see Mark is up at G flat and Ben's down at C. Okay, so I can you see when I do my arrow? No, you can't. That doesn't matter. Anyways,
No, but you could go to annotate at the top in the little bar. Do you see annotate, and then you can play? I think you can do it if you do it there.
oh, okay. Do you see it now? Oh, wait a second. Okay, so you see, there's me right there. Okay.
Yes, there you go.
All right, so I'm gonna just sort of follow this line going up like this, and Mark's gonna be up here, and he's gonna go this way, and we're just gonna kind of meet at the top. It's kind of hard to do this. I've got my computer on on a music stand, so my hand is all. So you can erase that.
We get the idea. Yeah, let me do that. I can clear that.
Clear that stuff out of there. I know there was some red stuff on one of the videos earlier. Yeah. All right, and we meet in the middle, but it's really interesting what happens. You don't because I know time is running low. You don't necessarily have to play the whole thing. Just play a few minutes, and this was living geometry.
Okay.
Anyways, Andrew, I think you can fade that out now.
Yeah.
So you...
Sorry, I have to probably stop it.
Just stop it. Just stop it.
You know, I have to admit, I hope you don't mind if I say, I know that you are also a practicing Buddhist, and I think sometimes your music is somehow almost spiritual in a way. It's so, I don't know, it's evocative.
Bless you, Andrew. I am a Buddhist. I've been a Buddhist for since '86, so that's quite a few years. Yeah.
I think I told you my wife and I got married in a Buddhist ceremony. We were very, very privileged to have that happen. There's so much to cover here, and we don't have a lot of time. I'd love to. I think Corcovado is pretty short, isn't it?
Corcovado is an arrangement of Tom Jobim's famous tune Corcovado, and what I did was I played that melody so many times. I spent years and years playing, frankly, lounge piano and piano gigs in hotels and stuff like that. It's all through high school and college how I earned my living. When there was a lot of that happening, and I just played so much of these standards, and Corcovado was in my head. I love Jobim's music, and I just one day or one evening or maybe one morning or whatever, I heard things in a kind of a modal way, and so you could play Corcovado. This is off an album called Apfelschauen 2. The bass player and drummer are Bridget Kearney and Mike Calabrese, who are now currently in a group called Lake Street Dive. And they were former students of mine, but they're fabulous. And this was recorded up here. Uwe Steinmetz, another person, a colleague, a former student, lives in Berlin. He's playing saxophone. So you could play a little bit of that if you'd like.
Yeah, there we go. I learned how to tone it down. I can just listen to that all day. Now, some of these I couldn't find online. How can people get copies of this? Are these on CDs they can buy?
If you're interested, they're all on my website, and I am going to have those all for digital download. If you want physical copies, contact me. You can reach me at info@benschwendener.com. And then if you're interested in the book, you could mention that as well, that is available by PDF. There you go, right there.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Organic Music Theory, Venmo at Ben Schwendener, Ben-Schwendener.
Yeah, so that explains a lot of the compositional stuff. Yeah, I mean, it is also on Spotify. There's a lot of stuff there, and of course, I love to, sell the music and just get to know people.
Buy his music, people. Buy his music. So you have some other great things here. Did you want to do?
Why don't you Kachank is fun, but let's just because this is something.
Sure.
Another former student of mine, Zhenji Hong, a beautiful vocalist, a graduate of the New England Conservatory from Shanghai, has been in touch over the past year, or actually through the pandemic, and put me in touch with the Shanghai Conservatory and a number of people there, where I've been, doing some teaching and also working on a commissioned body of work for a musician over there, also a singer, and it's about songs about mothers. And my mother passed away actually a little over a year ago, and so this kind of this very Buddhist. There's everything happens for a reason. That's not it.
No, sorry. I'm trying to get to it. Well, by the way, I wanted to say,
go ahead.
Mind, I'm just going to show people two quick things because the lyrics are beautiful. So first of all, here's what lupine flowers look like. They're just absolutely beautiful, just so people can get an idea of what that is. And then secondly, you can look up, if you look up lyrics, just beautiful lyrics, lupine flowers, you can look it up. Every night when I think of mother's words, my eyes sparkle with tears.
Oh, there it is.
It's really beautiful. So, but let's listen to her now. I had to just make a different selection here because she is. This is actually a video. So let me get to the video screen now, and we'll.
You're doing great, Andrew. I gave you so much in so little time.
Oh my God!
It's all
great
right.
Stuff, though. All great stuff.
So this is we recorded this. That's us, and then she's in New York, and that's just how we work with COVID right now. And they mixed and mastered it in Shanghai. Go ahead. And this was done just a few weeks ago.
Really?
Yeah, maybe about a month ago. And that's Domenico and Henry right there.
夜想起妈妈的话，闪闪的泪光，鲁冰花。夜想起妈妈的话，闪闪的泪光，鲁冰花。天上的星星不说话，地上的娃娃想妈妈，天上的眼睛眨呀眨，妈妈的心呀鲁冰花。家乡的茶园开满花，妈妈的心肝在天涯。夜夜想起妈妈的话，闪闪的泪光，鲁冰花。我知道午夜的星星会唱歌，想家的夜晚，它就这样和我一唱一和。当手中握住繁华，为何心情变得荒芜？才把现实上一切都会变卦。当青春剩下日记，5岁就要变成白发，不变的只有那首歌，在心中来回的唱。天上的星星不说话，地上的娃娃想妈妈，夜夜想起妈妈的话，闪闪的泪光，鲁冰花。 星星不说话，地上的娃娃像妈妈，天上的眼睛眨呀眨，妈妈的心呀鲁冰花。夜夜想起妈妈的话，闪闪的泪光如冰花。夜夜想起妈妈的话，闪闪的泪光如冰花。
Wow. Wow. You know, it reminds me of it's a Korea production. Really, really, really nice.
She's wonderful. Such a beautiful singer. Such a beautiful person. She's
Yeah.
It's great. Yeah. There's so many great people around the world. I mean, screw the politics. The people are really where it's at, you know. And my heart really goes out to Ukraine, especially.
Oh my God.
You know,
You know, I
with
was
so
just
many
thinking-
beautiful
Yeah.
people there, and musicians and artists, and just people who don't deserve this kind of
Awful.
insanity.
It's
I don't
awful.
want to get political, but
You know, I went to a concert this Sunday. A good friend of mine, Robert Finley, played the Rhapsody in Blue with the Brockton Orchestra, and afterwards he played a piece by a Ukrainian composer.
oh, super.
Just solidarity around the Ukrainian people. I hope we can do more for them. I just hate what they're going through. It's just awful.
Yeah, yeah.
But anyway, this was just absolutely wonderful. It's like attending a whole nightclub performance with you, Ben, and just amazing to get a little insight into you as a person, how you think. You know, we could spend 3 more hours just talking about how you come up with your musical ideas, and there's lots more music that you've written that we could listen to, but I think we have a nice selection there. We have a few minutes left. I want to open it to the floor and ask if people want to chat in the chat, ask a question, or even just unmute yourself and ask, you know, blurt it out. Just if you want to ask you know, Ben, a couple of questions about how he thinks or what he does and what's next. Maybe Ben, tell us what's next.
Well, right now I'm teaching this course in applied modal analysis at NEC, which is filled, and what I'm loving is everybody's analyzing Bach chorales, but they're all writing original music that sounds like themselves, and it's really cool. And they're performing too.
That's wonderful.
These works, and finishing of the book, applied modal analysis. And
Second book now. Okay,
yeah.
excellent.
So you know, and I performed with a trio with Domenico and Henry and the Bach trio. So something I meant to play, but at least you heard me play solo. But we improvise through Bach fugues as a trio. It's kind of wild.
Kind of play it on the way out.
You could do that, or else you could play Kachank. Maybe it'd be a good one.
Okay.
Ben,
on the way out? Yeah.
is it okay to ask a question?
Oh,
Ben,
sure.
This is Avi Nelson. I'm an amateur musician. I was curious. The last clip that you played, as lovely as it was, you said she was in Hong Kong.
No, she's in New York City. She's a musician living in New York.
Was she in New York at the time that you did this?
No, we recorded it here, and I sent her the tracks. The studio that I'm in right now that is a professional recording studio. So she got the tracks, and then she recorded in her studio at her house, and then she sent her tracks with my tracks with a syncing track, the same thing they do in the movies, you know, time code, and they sent that along with videos, her video, and then I had my video as well to Shanghai, and they processed it there for a.
Now I noticed that
Billy.
the musicians seem to be using music, so something was written out.
That was completely a written arrangement. Yeah, there was improvisation, but that's a arrangement, and that's part of the whole application of the whole circle of fifths and relationships of the 12 keys to music, is it gives you a lot to choose from when you're making arrangements.
So do you publish the sheet music as well?
I do have published music. I have 2 books of children's music that I wrote for kids I taught years ago, and this was a commissioned work, so I'm not sure what they're going to do with it. But
okay,
great. So thanks so much.
That was great. Yeah.
Hey, I see a message from.
Question I asked because it looked the way you patched the video back and forth. It looked live. It looked like you guys did it in real time, which was quite very well. And there is some application out there that allows you to do that. I'm not quite sure how that works though, but yeah, very nice.
I know, and I guess I maybe we'll get to that. I do actually, in a kind of a perverse way, appreciate Zoom. Believe it or not, the fact that I could theoretically be on tour somewhere and in Switzerland or China or wherever, and I could be teaching my class or doing something else at the same time, or living in Vermont or whatever.
I love it.
So
it was a real treat, and actually I videotaped this. I don't even know where the videotape is, but I videotaped a little bit of you helping me do that arrangement. So I had this idea for a Tonight Show theme song, and you actually arranged a whole page of all the different instruments. It was quite amazing to watch you at work, and you did it all, I think, pretty much freehand at the time. So it was quite impressive. And after this is officially over, I'll play a little piece of what that ended up being, because it ended up not being the Tonight Show. Actually, I played it for Jay Leno years later, and he loved it. He loved it, but he said, "But I have no say in the music for the show." So at the time,
no, he did. Yeah. They don't. The music supervisors do.
Yeah, so it was a big band sound, not realizing they weren't going to go big band for Jay Leno. Yeah. But anyway, so let's do this on the way out. I'm going to play. Do you want to give us a little bit of a background on the Kajenk song?
This is an album that you can actually purchase from CD Baby. Is CD Baby still around? Or you could just email me and I'll send you a copy, for whatever, $10-15, or best offer. CDs, not many people play them anymore. So, get a good deal on these. It's a double album CD. It's a 6-piece group, recorded here live. Bridget and Mike are on bass and drums. Eric Lane, Bob Rainey, who's a wonderful musician in Philadelphia. Greg Ramsey, my friend, who moved out here actually to work with George as well. He is on guitar in the bathroom. It was all recorded in the studio here live. We had mirrors, and all of the tunes were written after sounds that I found on sound cards. I went through a long stage of my compositional time, musical time, collecting vintage synthesizers, a lot of analog synths and a lot of synths from the early 80s. And there was a mom and pop industry of making sounds for these. And some of the sounds are really inspiring. It's like having a new instrument. And so this sound was called Kajenk. It's written for a Korg M1. It was on a card. I forget what it is. Soundhound Volume 3 or something. I don't know. Yeah. And so these all of the songs were inspired by certain sounds and other things. So this is Kajenk, and this was a song we used in No Plan B.
I love it. And what is nice about it too is that you have a couple of sounds in a row and you come up with this initial kind of theme and then you build on it. I'm not going to play the whole thing because it goes on for about 5 minutes, but before I do, there's one final question I wanted to get by you. So Dorothy Clark is asking, are your books for children's music available anywhere?
They are not available for right now, except through me.
Okay.
I do have a publisher, but I'm working things out in that department right now.
You basically designed a whole series of music for children, and I think even in some cases they were inspired with them. Did they participate?
Yeah, it's original music, but it's I also recorded it and I played it out in clubs as well, because my idea was that children's music could be as professionally appetizing as it doesn't have to be these exercise sounding things that you wouldn't want to play as you're cooking a salmon steak, and drinking a Pinot or something.
Right.
You want to be able to enjoy music.
Yes, exactly.
If you're gonna.
Well, we're gonna play a little bit, and then we'll wrap it up. And then, as a little treat afterwards, I'll play that other thing, but not for the official show. But I'm going to thank you again. But let me just one more time thank you. We'll thank you at the very end too. But thank you for your time today and the prep work you did on this and the wonderful music you bring to the world and what you do. It's just magnificent, and I'm glad to know that I'm at least in some circle of friends out there. So it's nice to be.
Oh, you're totally. It's so great to see you and Hillary, and thanks for having me. And if you're asking about music and books and stuff like that, just contact me. I've got things in the basement, and I've got files that I'd love to send to people. And that's kind of where I'm actually moving. My whole business is going to be all self-done. I'm off of Amazon. I'm not really enamored by Spotify for many reasons that you can read about. Sure. And at the same time, people love culture, and this is what I do. So thank you for supporting the arts. And Andrew, thank you for your love of it. And I know you're doing some great piano work as well. We'll get together soon.
Yeah, that sounds great. So without further ado, this is Ka-Chank.
That's the sound, Ka-Chank, right there. I'll tell you when to fade it, Andrew, okay? Leave the siren on. Harp Odyssey synthesizer. Now you can fade it.
Okay.
It just goes into solos here. Just a jam band type of thing.
I love it.
Oh, I didn't play any of Kenwood. Oh, you got a little bit of Kenwood and Marks, but that's fine. Go ahead. Thanks.
Thank you, Ben. This has been wonderful. I want to thank the Cummings Foundation for helping support this with their grant, and the Jenks Center for supporting this whole series. And of course, I can't end without thanking my wonderful wife for setting this all up and creating this whole series in the first place with me. So it's quite fun. Next time we have a fellow named Neely Bruce, who I've heard about years ago, I ran into some years ago, and he's going to be our composer next month. So look forward to that. I encourage you all to go to BenSchwendener.com and check out anything that you want to download from him, and send him an email and say I want to buy this, buy that, whatever. And thank you again for the time. Everyone have a good night.
Thanks, Andrew. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. See you soon.